Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Three Not So Wise Men. I'm Austin.
I'm Krais.
And I'm Jyck.
And today, we got a very spooky pitch for you today.
It's not even Halloween yet.
Well, who knows?
Yeah.
But today's prompt is write your own modern monster movie.
Yeah, so that's a monster movie released today, as opposed to like a. It doesn't have to be set nowadays, but that was something that I needed to explain to me. So yeah.
Why can't we release it tomorrow? Or yesterday?
Because it's modern.
Or yesterday.
Tomorrow's the future. Yesterday was the past. Today is a gift, and that's why they call it.
I fucking hate
a
how
past.
time works sometimes.
The wise words of Master Oogway.
Indeed. I'm surprised you didn't pick up on that.
But yeah, before we get to our writing portion, we should probably go ahead and start sharing our history with monster movies, in particular the horror franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So, does anyone want to go first on that?
You can go first because you obviously want to go first right now.
I don't think it's obvious. I think it's just I'm the one that knows more horror movies.
Yeah.
So, I got started with horror movies at a very young age by watching the classic monster movies of The Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, and Frankenstein. And then, as I got older, we moved to Brendan Fraser's The Mummy franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Those have always been fun. And over the past couple of years, we really haven't seen too many monster movies, because especially in the 2010s, it was a big trend for like paranormal activity kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the year before, or the decade before that, was like found footage films. And most of those end up being like ghost stuff, not necessarily monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of in this stage of revival of slashers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's only fitting that coming up soon we should be having a renaissance of monster movies. Universal Studios have started that, and then they kind of stopped, but they did do a remake of The Mummy, which wasn't great. And then they also did The Invisible Man, which was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm just kind of excited to get a monster movie in. And, you know, monster stories have been around for the longest time. I mean, look at the story of Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
How many times has that been adapted into stuff? But, yeah, I'm excited. Horror franchises and monsters, I feel like we could do more of.
Yeah.
Krais, you want to go? As being the exact opposite of me?
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm the exact opposite of you. Sure, I don't like horror movies, but that's just because, I'm civilized. I'm not a big fan of horror movies. I've never really cared for the genre. But I do like horror elements. Like, a good example would be BioShock. I say BioShock it can be a very scary horror game at times. And I love that game franchise. But I also love monsters. I've been creating monsters, learning about monsters since I was like 4 or 5. There's a reason why I have such an attachment to Stitch, because, he's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And I love him for that. But yeah, I just, monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more on the side of monsters in the horror aspect. But, monsters are innately horrifying.
Yeah.
So
Traditionally. For me, I grew up with monster movies. Not necessarily. One thing I think Austin's forgetting is monsters aren't all like horror movies or scary movies in general. I mean, like, there's Monsters, Inc. There's movies like Hotel Transylvania. That's when I think of monsters, honestly, I think of more movies like that as opposed to like actual horror films. I personally think the horror films I like seeing monsters how they were originally planned to be, scary, terrifying creatures. But anyway, I have more experience with their more lovable adaptations. But as for like my more recent experience with them, I really just me and Krais play D&D. We also create a lot. But when I do D&D, Krais does this too, but every single like enemy they face, I like make from scratch. Mm-hmm. So I can do a lot of monsters I've created. And when I was a kid, I would write monster stories were probably the things I wrote the most, and I've been writing my entire life. So I've got a lot. And the play that I've been working on for years is a monster story. Like, just full of a bunch of monsters from a bunch of different cultures. Adapted to something else. But yeah, so that's really my experience, is just researching stuff, but more writing and making up monsters. Like, if you could look through, like, my school notes through high school and middle school, you'll see doodles of monsters in the corners and stuff like that. So yeah. That's mine. It's not, and when it comes to monster movies, again, it's more Monsters, Inc. and that kind of thing, as opposed to,
Does Monsters vs.
Dracula.
Aliens count?
It's literally in the title.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll come up from. I've seen those movies.
Yeah.
It's just not I don't instantly think of the animated movies.
Yeah.
When it comes to it. But don't get me wrong. I love Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. Love the first Hotel Transylvania film.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What about the fourth one?
Anyway.
No, that was me poking fun at you, Austin. That wasn't me saying like you're forgetting these.
I know. But I do feel like I need to establish.
Yeah. I should have made that more clear. Yeah. No, it's just not what you think of originally when you think monster movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which I agree. But I'm curious what we're all going to do. We talked about when we got the prompt, are we going to do a classic monster like, Invisible Man, Wolfman, Vampire, or Dracula, or something like that? Are we going to make up our own? Or are we going to, what are we going to do? Is it going to be just the classic Dracula story set in that time period, just done, or just released with modern day technology? Let's find out. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Any other final thoughts?
Waffles.
Yep.
Well put.
Yep. As the famous donkey said.
Yep. All right.
I'm a poet.
Shrek. There you go. There's another monster for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And 3, 2, 1. Here we go. And time. Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
That was not enough time.
No, that was not.
Oh god.
Fuck.
Dude, I spent too long on the opening scene alone.
Same. I think my opening scene and the second scene, the word count for those is half of the document.
Jeez.
Of those two scenes.
I just want to cry.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh. I had like one really good opening scene, and everything else is bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll mention what my themes are,
Yeah.
just so that way it's kind of understand what I'm going for.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, let's write a movie script in 30 minutes. Honestly, I think I got more done with the trilogy
Yeah.
sections.
Because we just talked about like overall plot points of each movie. We didn't like do a scene breakdown. I think, Krais, did you try and do a scene breakdown?
Okay. By the time we got to, 9 minutes? Was when we were all like, fuck!
Like 9 left, yeah.
Yeah. That's when I was like, oh shit, I don't have a story at all. I was so busy worried about what I was doing with my monster that I was like, fuck, this is a movie. There's no story. Plot now.
Oh. All right.
Yeah, I think what was going crazier for me is because I kept thinking of these cinematic shots that could be done.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think, how can this be told well? And I was also just trying to build suspense in the scene. I'm like, oh crap. At the very least, I had an overall story or an end point that I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was starting to think like that, but then I think you said like we were 10 minutes in, and I was like, I can't do that. I'm still in the opening scene. So I tried to go a little faster, and it still wasn't great. I didn't write down the entire, all the plot points. I'm just gonna have to say them.
So from what I'm hearing is that we like what we've done, but we needed a lot more time.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Or at least we like what our idea is.
Yes.
I think we all were really enjoying
I
this
think-
until we saw the time crunch.
Yeah, time really hit us this time.
This would be one of the only horror movies that I would go watch in theaters. Mine.
Nice.
It's gonna be a comedy.
Yeah.
No. It's pure horror. I went fucking dark.
Wow, you were so wrong.
Yeah.
Jack and I were talking about this prompt earlier, and we thought you would do something cartoon and kitty like Monsters Inc.
No.
I think I said if any of us were going to do it, he would. I didn't. I honestly thought we were all going to go horror because Austin loves horror and us too. We don't really watch it that often.
Yeah.
Me personally, I wanted to try something new with my writing, and that's what I was doing with this.
Yeah,
I mean,
and even then, my horror is not like monsters
It's
either.
more
It's
slasher,
I like
isn't it?
slashers more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my thought process was like I want it to be like, oh, this is a very sweet moment. There's very sweet moments in the movie, but also like a looming threat that's constantly like behind, like in the back of your back of your mind. It's just like, fuck, what's gonna happen next? That's what I was wanting to do with this one.
All right.
All right.
Well, we've talked about how stressful that was. Let's
Yes.
get into
All right,
it.
let's
What do we-
see.
just-
Who wants to
just-
go? Anyone really wanting to go first?
No.
I'm good with any order this time. Actually, I'm not. Yeah, I want to hear you. Normally, I'm really excited to present mine. I want to hear you guys as much as I want to present this.
In that case, I want Krais to go first, just because he's gonna hate it the most.
It's
Let's see.
usually me anyways.
Can we get 2 episodes in a row?
We'll find
Please
out.
not. I was actually willing last episode.
No way.
No fucking way! Stop!
Oh my God! Right in the middle, don't dispute. Krais, you are first. Woo!
I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him.
I'm just sitting here watching your guys' reaction.
It's,
I've never seen Austin more hyped during recording, and I've never seen
I
Krais
love
more-
being right with predictions.
Yeah.
Like when I was talking about the Doctor Doom one
Yeah.
for the film review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was honestly I was like, there's no way that's going to happen. And then, wasn't it later that day?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was later that
we
day.
recorded it earlier.
Yeah.
And then, like, a week later, I had to put an edit
Yeah.
saying, oh, yeah, it actually happened.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, alright, so Krais is going first.
All right, I can go second for
If
all I
I
care.
go second, it'll be just a repeat of last
Yeah,
episode.
basically, but I can go second for all I care. Krais is first. I'm happy. I'll die a happy man.
Mm.
I'll cast myself in my movie and just let my monster kill me. Here we go. Alrighty.
It's going to be me.
It's me.
Oh, okay.
It's me.
Okay.
It's me. Hi. The monster's gonna kill me.
Alright, cool. So I live to the end. It's basically how that went,
Yeah, you're
right?
the final girl.
Huh?
You're the final girl.
Gotcha.
Alright.
so are we gonna go get some pizza or something? Like,
Let's see if you survive your horror movie. Let's go. What do you got for us, Krais?
all right. So, I feel like I have to talk about the origin of this. How I came to, this is what I want to write about. So, we recorded earlier today, and when we spun the wheel, I was fucked in my head. I was like, what do I pick? But as we were talking about like monsters, classical monsters, something came to my mind, and I'm so glad it did, because it truly saved my ass. Okay? What do you guys know about yokai?
That sounds very familiar. I think if you give me a description of what it is, I
A
might know
little
it.
bit.
Okay.
The
I
first thing that comes to mind is Yokai Watch. It's a kid's.
No, you be
anime.
quiet
Oh,
because you're gonna give him the wrong idea.
I know.
Okay.
It is the wrong idea.
So, yokai are basically supernatural spirits that exist in Japanese folklore. Okay.
I think I've seen something like this.
They are very weird, very disturbing, and very creepy. So, I thought, I don't know any, like, yokai horror movies. I can't think of any, at least, like...
There's not a lot of Japanese mythology horror movies, period.
Yes. And I thought that was so... Yeah. You're looking at some of the pictures?
I need to look them up. I don't think
Okay.
I've ever seen an image of one.
Okay.
Okay, this is vaguely familiar, yeah.
Okay. I don't think Austin knows, but I think I've talked about it with you, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a D&D campaign that is set in both Japan and China.
Yep.
And part of my research into the my research for this campaign was yokai. So I had a yokai website that has a shit ton of these monsters just ready to go. In fact, one of my favorite features, and the reason why this story exists, is there's a random button that you can press, and it just sends you to a random page on the website, and you can read about that yokai, what it does, what it eats, and how it you can haunt your dreams. Okay? So, I pulled up the website, clicked random a few times to see what I could find, and I have a batch that I think are very interesting, and I will show these 2 pictures of the yokai that I will bring up in the story. That's the starting point for you all.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, the setting of my movie takes place high in the mountains in Japan, near Fuji. Okay? I try to be as geographically realistic as possible. Okay? I did actual research about the place and our surroundings. But here's the premise. Makoto, which was kind of a last minute name because I couldn't think of, goes with her family, her mom, dad, brother, and little sister, to her grandma's old past after her passing. And during the opening scenes of they're exploring this house. Okay, they're looking at all these old relics that their grandmother had, and Makoto and her brother find an ancient urn, and by accident it breaks and releases a bunch of yokai just out into just in the house and into the mountains. So basically, the whole movie is Makoto and her little brother working together, trying to run away from these creatures and to not die. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of the opening scenes. Okay, so the first yokai that makes an appearance is I'm gonna butcher a lot of these words, so I'm so sorry for our listeners. But the first yokai that shows up is the Gotoku Neko. Okay, it's basically a fire-breathing cat with twin tails. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the first one to pop out of the urn. I like to envision that as it breaks, it just slowly reforms and starts it's perched in such a way like it's about to pounce on the kids. Yeah. And you see it's literally the first yokai they see, and it burns down the house and their parents along with it, causing Makoto and her younger brother to flee deeper into the mountains to get away from this creature.
Can I see it? You said it.
Oh yes, I will be showing off pictures. So sorry for our listeners.
Yeah, they can just.
But this is a picture of this creature.
Gotoku Neko.
Yeah. If you also want to retry to say the name.
Gotoku Neko, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Japanese syllables. Japanese words are very syllables.
Mm-hmm.
Chopped up.
Yeah.
To me, that's how I read them.
But yeah, they're just a fire-breathing cat that basically just burns down this old home of theirs, mm-hmm. And yeah. So they're running away, trying to escape this creature, when they come across a rickety old temple in the mountains, where they find an old lady there. She gives them refuge, and she's important to the story because she also gives the audience more exposition about what the yokai are. We know what they are. We have a few scenes at the beginning. Because in my head, the younger brother is obsessed with them, but he's not. He doesn't know about the gory stuff. It's this old lady that's like, hey, just so you know, these are killing machines, and they will kill you. And she starts talking to them, taking care of them, cleaning them up, calming their worries. And it's revealed that she is actually also a yokai. Mm-hmm. Obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the witch in Hansel and Gretel.
I did a small eyebrow raise for anyone.
Yeah.
But basically, it's revealed that she was an ancient ancestor of Makoto and her brother. I don't have a name for the brother. I couldn't think of one. Sorry. But point is, she's this ancient witch is a ancient spirit of an ancestor of Makoto, and she reveals that their family were yokai hunters back in the day. And it explains why the urn is in the house. It's not just there's an urn full of yokai. No, they were traditionally one of the most feared yokai hunters of all. And after all of this exposition, she eventually goes, "Okay, you're gonna have to leave now, or else I'm gonna kill you and eat your flesh." Mm-hmm. Because she is I'm gonna try it again, Kokuri Baba. It's basically an old lady who lives in a broken temple eating the human corpses. Mm-hmm. I would like to envision that she's the reason why the littlest kid is gone. So they eventually, after running away from their ancient grandmother, they finally get into the city at the base of the mountain, which is Fuji. But their grandmother basically said, "Okay, you got to stop the yokai now, since you guys are the ones that released it. So you need to go to this forest." And I'm going to try again, and I'm so sorry. It's Ogihara Forest. Okay? I looked it up. It's one of the most haunted places in all of Japan. Mm-hmm. Okay? Felt fitting.
Yeah.
So they need to get to this forest, which is just a few miles out of town. And when they're in when they finally get to the city, they start looking for a way to get out of the city by vehicle. When they come across a yokai called the Hari Onago. Okay, it's basically this lady with hair whip, that snatches men and kills them.
Yeah.
And I envision like a big old chase scene through the city as they're driving. They're trying to drive away out of the city.
Yeah. Hari Onago?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hari Onago.
Yeah. But yeah, this one is just to get them out of the city. There's not really much of a plot point with this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just trying to get them out of the city to the forest. But during the chase, they are driving out of the city, and they eventually get to the woods, and crash the car. It's a miracle they survived.
Yeah.
And in the forest, they find a Kitsune no Yomiri, I think is how it's said. I know the first part. Basically, I'm assuming you guys know what a kitsune is.
Kitsune?
Kitsune.
Yeah, kitsune.
Yeah.
It's
so.
it's a character.
Fox person.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a Japanese fox spirit. They're
No.
generally good.
I was thinking of a tool. Never mind.
No.
That's a character. There's one in that play I was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Akitsu no Yomire is a kitsune wedding. They stumble across this eerie, like ghostly wedding deep in the forest, and you keep expecting like them to jump out during this scene, but it's really just this beautiful wedding between these two spirits after being locked up in the urn for so long. And they eventually, like, it's revealed that these are their ancestors, and they just they're sorry for the situation that they're in, and they reveal the secret to capturing yokai to Makoto, who is the eldest, and reveal that the most dangerous one is nearby, and that she needs to be defeated. And so Makoto and her brother go to the lake. I mean, I would show you this picture, but it's literally just fox people getting married.
Yeah.
Fox people getting married.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's so the final one is at this lake near the forest called the Nura Ona. Okay, it's this massive, like, I don't remember how long it is. I have all the things pulled up. Okay, I'm not saying anything about size, but basically this is like a vampiric sea serpent that lives near bodies of water, and they're massive.
Yeah.
Okay, and yes, it basically it's the final battle between Makoto and this spirit, and Makoto finally like slays the beast and captures it, but not without the loss of her brother. So. And the movie ends there. Yeah, that's what I had.
All right, Jack.
So I could tell that you started with a premise, did a lot of research into it, and then kind of had to throw a plot together because you had no time. That was pretty apparent. But I'm still like, you still got a storyline in there. And it's not like one that's all over the place. It's just, I mean, it is, but it's supposed to be. It's a chase for most of the movie, pretty much. But yeah, personally, I just wish you would have focused more on the story. I think we all really felt the pressure of time with this. But yeah, I mean, that's the first thing that's coming to mind. Like, I know I had thoughts while I was listening to it, but I can't really. So, okay, here's one. Since all of this takes place in Japan and all the characters have Japanese names, is this like a movie in Japanese, or
no?
Is this like just them speaking English as if they were speaking Japanese?
Would it be,
Yes.
would it be like descendants that live in America and they're like visiting relatives in
They
Japan?
moved to Japan. They moved to Japan, or
I was thinking like it's more about like just Japanese people, but they're speaking English like it's Japanese. Like so
just for American.
Just for yeah.
So it'd just be like a dub, or like when Hollywood movies come out, they have people who record the lines in. I guess that's still a dub, isn't it? But
yeah, that's a dub. I think they just are speaking.
Speaking English. They are speaking English, but
that adds my thing then.
Yeah, I personally, this might be kind of what you're getting at. I personally, if you're gonna do that, would think you're gonna need to make two versions: one where the actors are actually speaking Japanese, and then one where
kind of like what they did with the movie Prey, where they had.
Yeah.
I don't remember what tribe they said, but they had some sort of Native American tribe, or the Native American tribe that they were using in that movie.
Yeah.
They had two versions. They had one where they spoke that specifically, and they spoke one with them just speaking English.
Right. And I agree that there would be like a Japanese and an American version, but I'm using the mind of like this is being made here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Not of this is a foreign film that is dubbed over.
Yeah, that was my problem with it, is since it was done here, but everything is exclusively set in Japan with Japanese characters, that didn't make a lot. That's why we thought of like Descendants.
That also tends to be very controversial when you do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of my concern. That's why you would get some leeway if it was, hey, they're descendants who live in America and they're visiting family.
That's why they do that in so many movies.
Yeah, but that was, since that clarification, I do have to bring that up.
Yeah, I think it would be... That being said, I really want to see this where it's true to... Let's say you did decide where it was the brother and sister. Like, let's say... what was the main girl's name?
Makoto.
Makoto. Makoto or Makoto?
Makoto.
Makoto. So let's say she and her brother were born in Japan, but they were raised in America, and now they're back to Japan after their grandma died?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say that happened. That way... Because it's just following those two for most of the movie, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So I could definitely see them getting away with doing English because they are spirits, the yokai. It's not a big stretch for them to say, like, oh, we're just speaking the language in your head type of thing. But I see this as this can be a really fun adventure movie if they really... I think the most of the budget would go into the visuals. Because when you were describing this, I was, like, picturing this really dark movie with amazing visuals, and then I was seeing the yokai as these bright, vibrant creatures that disrupt the dark world that we're seeing. I really liked that idea. And you chose just the idea that you chose yokai was really interesting to me, because generally when we see them in media, it's like Yokai Watch or something like Pokemon, where they're like capturing monsters and they're all these kinds of monsters. Like, you search yokai, you also get that kids TV show, that's what Yokai Watch is. But also like Pokemon drawn up in more yokai traditional Japanese style, like imaging, it came up as well. So I like that we had like that, at least I got to see a medium where it was actual yokai instead of an adaptation of it. Also, they're freaking scary.
Yeah. That's why I chose the ones I did.
Yeah.
Because like some of them aren't like super dangerous, like the cat one.
Yeah.
I found that one and I was like, and I looked at the background and was like, oh, it looks like a traditional house. What if that's like the first one they meet and it's burning down the house? Yeah. That would be cool.
Also, that's where they got the idea for Vulpix, the Pokemon. Sorry. You said that, I was like, oh. And then also Kitsune is Ninetales. Anyway.
Yeah.
I love being a nerd, guys. I just love it. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah,
that's where I've heard it from.
Yeah.
Overwatch.
Yeah.
It's Kiriko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I've heard the word before. That's why.
Anyway, yep. That's what I got to say. I'm sure I'll think of more stuff as Austin talks, but...
Yeah. So, I got thoughts. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. I'll start with what I like. I do really like the story that you're telling. It's very interesting. And I do like your idea of setting it in Japan and it just being more of a celebration of Japan's
culture.
Yeah, heritage.
See, I
feel like I'm getting those themes from this too. First thing though is your choice of the yokai. I think you are kind of crossfading a little bit between the two because the prompt is monster movie, and like they do take forms of like creatures and stuff, and you've stated that a couple times. But you've also mentioned like demons and stuff, demons and spirits, and that's kind of different.
In Japanese culture, that's basically what when we as Americans think of monsters, that's what they think. That's the
thought process why.
Yeah.
It's like you're kind of in a weird spot between it being an actual monster movie and a ghost movie. That being said, though, I do like how you focus more on their creature forms, though. So I'm gonna give you the leeway on that part. But that was just something that I was thinking about throughout your whole prompt.
You wrote this prompt down, right?
Yeah.
I just think it's you two are interpreting monster movie as something different. You're thinking of like more American classic monster movie.
Well, I'm just thinking like even just creature based, not necessarily spirit. Because like I said in my intro to horror in general, there's a pretty big difference between spirit horror movies and then monster horror movies, and that was kind of what we were going for.
Gotcha.
And so that's why it's like you chose a creature that's like that weird balance between the two.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to say, yeah, you do have more on the monster side, especially with your information of it also counts as like Japan's monsters.
Yeah, that's they don't really have monsters. They have ghosts. They have spirits and demons. Is what they have.
Well, yeah, I think Japanese monsters think Godzilla.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And other kaiju.
They have kaiju, and then they have spirits and demons. That's what I know of. I could be completely wrong. They could have more like monsters as we describe them, Wolfman, vampire, that kind of thing. But I think that's just they have a more spiritual legends is basically what it is.
I think you do a lot of great world building in it, just with it all being set in Japan. I also think with the Japan setting, you have set yourself up to have a great opportunity for some great cinematic shots with it. But my other thing about this is that it's very episodic. Like you have like, hey, they go see this thing, they go see this thing, and this thing. And I don't say that doesn't happen in movies, but when those movies do that, they get that comparison. It's like, it almost feels like a TV show. And some of the inspirations behind it, the more you talk about it, the more I just think it would probably make for a good anime series. Yeah. And I'm not trying to shame you on that, because I think this would probably be one I would check out. Yeah. But it's just like that thought process, it just feels very episodic. Because they go see this one thing, and then it's like, oh, no, gotta go do this thing. And then it's like making several stops instead of it blending together like it would in a movie.
Yeah, I think that comes from... one, having 10 minutes to put together a plot.
Yeah. Well, okay. I wanted it to be a chase, but I also didn't want it to be the one single yokai. Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of the issue. Mm-hmm. Because, like, I didn't want to focus on, like, the last one as a whole, because traditionally it lives in bodies of water. That's why it's, like, the last one it fights, because the forest is near a lake. And I wanted, like, as they're leaving the forest, they come across the lake and they find this creature. But some of the other creatures don't make sense for it to be the thing that's always chasing them. Like, if I picked the first creature, I thought it would. The first creature would have been too easygoing, if you will. Like, I didn't think there was enough terror with the first one. The reason why I went with multiple is because it's based around yokai, not one yokai in specifically, because I think they are more terrifying because of how many they are.
Yeah, and I get that, but I think what also makes it more episodic is because you keep bringing them to these different locations. It doesn't feel like it's in a tight area where they need to control it enough, as much as like, hey, we got to travel all this land to go do it. That's what makes it more episodic, because you can do multiple monsters in a more enclosed or tighter space, and that could be interesting. But when you also do multiple monsters with big, vast, and multiple locations, that kind of makes it feel like it's going to be more of a grander journey that you need episodic storytelling for. And don't get me wrong, I know I'm grilling you on this a lot, but you do have a good story, though. And I'm just saying, I think the story itself would serve better as a TV series, or even just a mini-series, than one single movie. Because even, like, making this a 3-hour movie, I feel like it wouldn't be enough.
To me, it sounds like a classic epic. Like, I read it, like, the first Percy Jackson book, The Lightning Thief. He goes on a journey across America, and it's very episodic, but he's reaching a goal. I think that's what's happening here, except they don't know what the goal is. Mm-hmm. Their goal is to escape, and then it's revealed to them as they go, which, if you do it right, can be very, very good, but it will definitely come across as episodic, which I personally don't think there's anything wrong with an episodic movie. Mm-hmm. You just have to do it right. Yeah. So I personally don't have a problem with that. It's just harder to pull off.
But even then, they still made Percy Jackson a TV series, too.
Yeah, they ended up, but my point...
I didn't say it's good, but I'm just saying, like, that's also why they're like, we maybe need to make a TV series. They're doing Harry Potter as a TV series, too, so...
Yeah, it's just a longer story they're going to turn into a TV series or a trilogy. That's just how it works. This just seems like an epic, a journey, an adventure movie.
Long story short, this is just a lot for one movie. Yeah. And that's what I'm getting at.
Gotcha.
Okay. I did think of being like, and it's like this would set up a second movie.
That's because if that's a good note for anything down the road too. If you feel like you can put a little teaser or do a setup for a second movie, do that. But I think this one just ended up being a little bit more episodic.
Yeah. All right.
So I guess it's me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're next.
All right.
What do you
well,
got?
Krais, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share about it?
Nah,
Yours?
it's just...
Jack?
It was good. I want to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch it. I would definitely watch it, but I definitely think it would do better as a series. That's my final thought. All right, so going on to me, we are doing kind of a... What I'm going with is I'm going to do a Creature of the Black Lagoon movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the approach I'm taking to this is very much on par with Brendan Fraser's The Mummy movies. Mm-hmm. So it's going to have some horror elements. It's going to have some action scenes, and then it's also going to be a little bit comedic at times.
Mm-hmm.
But don't ask me about the comedic moments because I did not have time to flesh anything out.
Nope.
I focused more on the horror parts.
Yeah.
So the synopsis for this movie is, in 1924, remnants of a mysterious creature come to surface in the jungles of the Amazon. If that sounds familiar, that's because that is the exact synopsis from the original movie in 1954.
Nice.
But determined to find out what this creature is, a group of scientists team up with an energetic photographer, a group of treasure hunters, and a mysterious steamboat driver. But as they go deeper into the Black Lagoon, the scientists soon learn that there are more secrets than the mysterious remains.
Is the steamboat rider The Rock?
No.
All right. Jungle Cruise.
Sorry.
Or any Dwayne Johnson film.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Dwayne Johnson's not coming near this film.
He's like, stay away. All right.
Because I don't have any people that are smoldering with their big muscles. But anyways, some of the themes I wanted to go with this film were just themes of adventure as well as the themes of morality.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason I picked it to be in 1924
Mm-hmm.
is so that way you get that sense of like, hey, we can still explore the Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
but also in 1918, World War I had just come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
So my overall goal with the mysterious steamboat driver
Mm-hmm.
is that he's a World War I vet,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just very troubled, so he spends his time sailing in the Amazon.
Yeah.
And he'll do some morally gray things in the movie.
Yeah.
And I felt like that would be a nice little touch to add to the film.
Yeah.
But starting off with my big plot points, the only one that's going to be more detailed is this opening scene.
Yeah.
And then everything else got really, oh crap, I got to do this, and this.
Yeah.
Just to get the full story outlined.
Same thing.
But I can explain as I go.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with the opening scene, we'll get a wide shot of the lagoon at night with a dense fog laying over the area. And then we'll cut to a cave along the water line where three men are trying to exit it. And as the third man is trying to leave it, a green webbed hand will grab his shoulder and pull him back into the shadows. And the two men in front of him will stop and look back. And all they will hear is his blood-curdling screams along with some weird gargling sounds. And then just the sound of his blood getting splattered everywhere.
Really going for the horror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the things why this opening scene's gonna be more detailed, because I really focus on more cinematic storytelling with it. So you got more specifics to it.
Yeah.
And then right after that, the guy closest to the cave is just in utter shock, but the guy in front of him tells him to, come on, let's go. And they start running towards the boat. And they get to their boat, which is like just a small little side boat that would be part of a bigger boat, I guess. Mm-hmm. And they start rowing it out onto the lagoon. As they're sailing, there's a loud thunk on the boat. And then the men just freeze. They just sit there and wait and wait. Then nothing happens. And they're like, all right, let's get back to it. And then the boat gets hit again with a louder thunk, and the boat begins to shake everywhere. And as that's happened, the men start to panic and they start looking around, see what's hitting it. And then the boat gets hit a third time, still keeping the boat intact, but it tips over enough so it knocks both the men into the water. And so they're just around swimming in the Black Lagoon. And you know why it's called the Black Lagoon, right?
Nope.
So the Black Lagoon is called the Black Lagoon because the water is so thick that you can barely see
right
6 inches in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's just very dark water.
Gotcha.
And it's very muddy.
Yeah.
So as they're trying to get back into the boat, one of the men gets back into the boat and he turns around to try and pull his friend up, but his friend gets pulled underwater. And then the guy just sits there and is looking around to see if he can find him. He starts screaming this guy's name, and I didn't name any characters, didn't have time.
Yeah.
And they just start moving around, and he's trying to see what happens. And as he's looking, the boat gets knocked again, and the man just freezes with fear, and he's not sure what to do. And as this happens, the music just starts going.
Louder and louder.
And then it's just silence. And the man's just breathing heavy and heavier. And then he just looks over the side of the boat, and all he sees is his reflection in the water. But as he's looking at his reflection, he sees it start to get all shifted. And next thing you know, you're seeing a very distorted look of the monster's face. And as the man realizes it, we'll cut to a side shot of the monster jumping out of the water, grab it. It'll be just a silhouette, so you don't see the full color of it, but you can see like some of the detailed shapes in it, and you'll see him grab the guy's head and yank him under the water, and finally tipping the boat with him. And then from there, we'll just get some bubbles that are popping up on the water, and then from there, we're gonna transition to a lab with a beaker that's boiling.
Nice.
And then ran out of time after coming up with cinematic shots.
So it's just a beaker for boiling for the rest of the movie?
Yep.
Yeah, basically. But going through the rest of the plot points that I was able to jot down in time, we meet the scientists, which will be the lead characters. They'll get the news that the mysterious body has been found. They'll meet the rest of their crew. They'll go to the lagoon. And then as they're sailing at the lagoon during their adventure, some crew members will slowly start missing, and then people will start panicking. It's like, what's going on here? How did someone just up and disappear? And then you got the captain being on the boat, just saying his normal cryptic stuff and giving a little bit of exposition about the lagoon. Then one night, the monster comes aboard the ship, and he does the traditional thing from the original movie where he sees the female lead. In the original Creature of the Black Lagoon movie, there's this weird connection where the monster likes the girl in the movie. And I kind of wanted to play into that and see what I can do with that, but I didn't have time to flesh anything out. So there would be a storyline there or a little subplot, but nothing that I could flesh out here. Soon the men on the boat will find that monster, and then they'll chase him into the cave that we saw at the beginning of the movie, where they'll find some ancient treasure or something, and then the monster will be shot down in the cave. Then once the crew gets back to the boat, with the treasure, they'll betray the scientists and just tie him up, and their overall goal is, typical bad guys.
Yep.
Because they didn't have time to flesh them out for anything else.
Money.
But here's when things get really crazy. The boat, this big old steamboat, it starts shaking the same way the boat at the beginning of the movie did. And then as one guy leans over the railing to check it out, another one of the creatures grabs him and pulls him off the boat and takes him under the water. Another one jumps up from the other side of the boat and sinks its teeth into the neck of another guy. And suddenly, next thing you see is a wide shot of several of the creatures climbing onto the boat and taking over it. I kind of didn't have time to flesh anything out, so the last shot I was able to get down was the two leads and some other survivors on the shoreline of the shoreline of the lagoon, seeing the boat slowly sinking down while being on fire.
Nice.
And just becoming lost into the lagoon. That's what I got.
Nice.
I like it.
Krais, you want to go first?
I was about to ask you the same thing.
Okay. So, I really like it. I know nothing really about the Creature of the Black Lagoon, so I really like this because it's something new for me. I like that you also not only went with a classic monster, you based it off.
I took heavy inspiration from the original film.
Yeah, from a classic monster movie as well, as opposed to just making an adaptation or just taking the monster and writing a story with it. And I really like that. The thing, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think we all just needed a lot more time to flesh things out. All my problems are with you didn't have time to flesh things out. So, yeah, except for one thing, this isn't something I have a problem with. I really like that at the end of it, there's a bunch of creatures of the Black Lagoon. I kind of was starting to expect it as you led up to it. because you said the creature died. I'm like, there's gonna be a mama creature, and then we get to the scene. And I'm like, there's more than one left.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you could do something really, because I feel like people are going to expect that when they see the movie,
Kind
but
of.
not until the last second.
My thought process behind that is because there's a lot, because of how more of an artistic approach I'm going with it as well. There's a lot more look at the A24 movies where there might be a monster or something, but they're not really the full monster, which also plays into the theme of the morality of stuff that I wanted to go into, because what if the real monsters are the other humans? So I just wanted to play into that, and yeah, but it also plays into the action-based part of it, is there's really more.
Yeah.
And obviously I think that some people would expect at least maybe one more monster, not a whole swarm of them taking over.
I didn't think there'd be a swarm until as the second one we see was grabbing the guy. I'm like, there's gonna be more, isn't there? And that was just how you were describing it. So I feel I just had an idea of a really good shot. So the second one grabs the guy, brings him under, as you said. Everyone rushes to that side to try and shoot it or something.
Yeah, that would be something that would happen. That's why then this one came up from behind.
We'll slowly creep up onto the railing, and we just see a silhouette of it as we see these guys looking down, and we see their faces, and then they look up and they turn around and they see another one.
Well, the big misdirect that I have for this one, which I didn't get to throw this detail in there, is that the first one that grabs the first guy that get killed will be the exact same color as the one there. But the one that's going to be coming up would be more of a teal color.
Gotcha.
So it's there's just a bunch of them there. And I originally wanted to call this the Creatures of the Black Lagoon, but
that gives
it away, the big plot point. So I'm like, what if we just called it the Black Lagoon?
Yeah.
Because it'll shorten down the title, The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah. But also, you kind of get the classic name too. I
also think that if you just focus on that, you can explore are the humans the monsters as well. When you just say the Black Lagoon.
There's also this really good theory. I can't remember where I saw it, but there's this theory about how environments can have such a drastic effect on people. Mm-hmm. So we could probably see one of the characters in the show just be a really good person and have them slowly go into madness. Yeah. So you don't know if there's maybe even a magical effect to the Black Lagoon.
That's what I was thinking. I was starting to think about that as well. I wish you had more time to flesh it out.
I do too.
All right, I kept talking. Sorry, Chris.
No, that's cool. Just kind of going off of what you said, I wish you had more time. It's just the nature of this prompt. I like that you try to revamp the original Creature of the Black Lagoon. I haven't seen it, but I know it by reputation alone. I will say, every time I think of this, the Creature of Black Lagoon, I always think of Link from Monsters vs. Aliens. Because in my head, he is the creature of the Black Lagoon.
Well, he is.
Yeah, and when you said the rocking of the boat, and I could just imagine a Link walking onto the boat, being like, "So,
all right, I got this."
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think you did a really good job. I think some of the quote unquote shots that you took at the beginning would be really appealing to watch, the bubble into the beaker. I like that a lot. But yeah.
Sounds like I got a movie to show you guys in October.
No.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that scary.
No.
It's in black and white.
No.
I'll drag your ass out and see it.
I'll be busy that day.
No, you won't.
Yeah, sure.
I'll have sickness that day.
Sorry, I'm sick.
I'll wear a mask.
Alright.
Well, if y'all don't have anything else, Jack, what do you have for us? What spooky tale do you have for us?
Okay, so I'm going to open it by saying this is an original monster. This is one I created. You guys here can see I brought a notebook. This is a notebook from late middle school, early high school that I had. Yeah, and this is near the beginning of said notebook. You guys see me going around my day. I have a notebook on me most times, and I'm just constantly writing in it. It's different things from, making up a monster to just what I need to get done today. But yeah, so I point that out to show I made this creature up a long, long time ago, and I have yet to be able to do anything with it. So I took the opportunity to do that. When we got the prompt monster movie, I immediately thought of this. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it because I didn't have a lot fleshed out with it, but we went with it anyway. Okay, That being said, I need to go into the themes of the movie to explain what I'm trying to do with it. Otherwise, it doesn't sound any good and doesn't make sense. So, this is supposed to feel like a sequel to something. I want people to, when they start watching this, to think, is there a classic movie in like the 1940s that I missed that this is like a sequel to or something like that? I kind of want not quite a sequel, but I want the feeling that something has happened we're missing part of the story. And I think I did it well. I just need to explain myself. It makes more sense when I read the plot, I feel like. But just keep that in mind. I kind of want the feel of like there's something that happened before that led to this. And another thing I like to do with I don't know if I like to do, it's something I fall into with monster movies, is I like to take like a pretty basic storyline. In this case, it was teenagers go camping, find a monster, have to kill the monster. And then I like to really twist it and make it into something more.
Ooh,
unfortunately, I didn't really have a lot of time to do that, but I tried. So if I had more time to work, I know we all say if I had more time to work on it, but anyway. All right, let's get into it. A brief synopsis. 4 friends go camping in the woods near the town Mist Rock.
Great idea.
Yeah. Late at night, they are attacked by a massive creature they can't fully see. 3 of them stumble into town at sunrise. The people of Mist Rock aren't too happy. It was very brief because I needed to get into the story because I didn't have the story fleshed out. I just had the premise, which is
it's just the traditional horror thing. Like you have some sort of opening kill.
Yeah. So
and like I did the same thing with mine with those 2 random guys.
Yeah. This is that opening scene. Mm-hmm. So Alex and Sarah are setting up a tent as Jules and Ronnie are trying and failing to get a fire going. Alex and Jules are siblings. Sarah and Jules are friends. Sarah is dating Ronnie. That doesn't matter too much, but it naturally shows in the story, but I have to explain it because I don't have something written. Anyway, so they're all goofing off, having a good time, except for Alex. He's clearly unhappy. Jules, Alex's sister, comes over, tries to cheer him up and get him involved in them. I said teenagers, didn't I? 4 friends. They're in their early 20s. They're 20 or 21. Yeah, so they're young. They're still young adults. They're, doing what they would do when they're camping. They're making s'mores. They're laughing. They're making jokes, doing all sorts of these things. Alex clearly doesn't want to be there. Jules, his sister, tries to cheer him up and get him involved. He just explains how he doesn't even want to be there. The only reason he is there is because Jules needed to borrow his camping gear, and and everything she has borrowed from him, she has broken. So he's just there because he doesn't want her to break his stuff. And she's not, while Sarah, her friend, is a veteran camper, she is not. And then Ronnie's just kind of there for the ride. That being said...
There for the ride, or is he part of the kill count?
You'll find out.
Kill count.
Yeah. So I use this to kind of set up the group dynamic between them. Alex and Jules are siblings. They have the sibling thing where he doesn't trust her with this stuff, as I said. But then Sarah and Jules are just friends from college, basically, they were roommates. So as they have dinner, Sarah, who's known Alex for a long time, starts talking about Ronnie. We get some backstory into him. He's a sweet, lovable guy who's kind of a klutz and has never been camping before. He's new to all this, but he's doing his best, and he's a really great guy. And Alex sees him. I'm going way too much into this. Honestly, this whole opening thing I've been describing that I'm only halfway through is really only 5 minutes of screen time, because it's really just kind of jumping, and then I want lighting to show the passage of a night, because it starts from 5 p.m. and it goes to past midnight, this opening scene. So they set up the group dynamic. Alex ends up going to bed early. The other 3 are staying up, eating, laughing. Ronnie has to go up and go to pee. Classic horror mistake.
Yeah, don't go pee by yourself.
Yeah. So Sarah and Jules are chatting, and then they hear Ronnie screaming. Alex is startled awake, jumps out of the tent, probably in his boxers and t-shirt. I want to make that more comedic, that moment, because next thing they know, Alex is forcing the girls to stay by the fire, even though they want to run after and save Ronnie. He's stay by the fire, stay in the light, and he's calling out to Ronnie, trying to get Ronnie to come over. Suddenly, Ronnie falls silent. Rustling in the trees is heard. Ronnie? Ronnie, it's not funny. Rustling in the trees. And then all of a sudden, a tear through the trees is heard, and it stops right above them. They're looking up with flashlights, not knowing what's going on. And all of a sudden, Ronnie's body falls in front of them, and they scream. Title card. The Mishfar. I named it when I was in middle school. Leave me be. Alright. Myshfar. Mishfar. So that's the opening scene. I did the same thing with Austin's. I took a long time with these opening scenes, and then I quick. And that's how the storytelling's going to go. So the next scene, we have Sheriff Lane. She is getting coffee with her new deputy, who's from out of town, at Granny's Diner. And then we see Granny. She's 40. Deputy Marcus asks why Granny is so young, and Granny's like, because the old folks in town don't act old, so she has to in their place. I feel like a lot of monster stories based on where there's like a legend, it's an older woman or an older man giving the exposition about the legend of it. Mm-hmm. I kind of wanted to twist that where it's actually a younger woman who's just been in the town for a long time. And I like the idea of these old folks in Mist Rock are just like partying it up. Like they're not acting their age at all. Anyway. And that's something I kind of want to see in the background of the movie as we go. But
pin the dentures on the walker.
Not quite that, but yeah. So yeah. That's what it is.
My authorization, this is going nuts!
Now that we've offended the entire nursing home. Alright, so yeah, that sets up the dynamic of the town really real quick. Then as they're chatting and basically it's establishing Sheriff Lane has been there her entire life, but she's still young for a sheriff, so about 30. And Deputy Marcus is out of town and he has no idea what he's doing. Yeah, as this happens, Alex, Sarah, and Jules, obviously not Ronnie, come running into town from the woods and collapse just outside the diner. This will be like a shot from inside the diner and then them looking out, and then there's these kids who are torn up and bloody and have been running all night, like collapsing right outside, and the sheriff gets up and goes to check on them, obviously. Sheriff Lane asks what's going on, and then I had to have dialogue going on. You never believe us. Try me, kid. It was a monster. It was up in the trees. It killed my boyfriend. It dropped his boyfriend.
Boyfriend.
Yeah.
Oh,
Boyfriend.
we're never letting you let that down.
Yeah.
Boyfriend.
Yeah.
Boyfriend want a cuddle?
What the frick? What was that?
Mom sounded like, did you get a boyfriend?
Okay, so this is multiple characters, but I'm not going to say all the characters' names unless I need to, just to keep it going. So, it was a monster. It was up in the trees. It killed my boyfriend. It dropped his body right in front of us. A monster picked up your boyfriend and dropped him from a tree. Told you you wouldn't believe what it looked like. That's Granny's. And then there's a tense moment in the air. It had a diamond. I have a picture that I can show you guys, but it's hand drawn.
The one on the right?
Yeah, that's just a tree on the left.
Well, there's two drawings, so I wanted to make sure.
I was like, is there a tree monster? Or?
Yeah, no, it's this.
So okay.
I'm going to just read it how I wrote it out. It's hard to explain, so I just did my best. So it has a diamond-shaped head with 4 diamond eyes in the center and a jagged hole where its mouth should be. It has long arms with massive claws as long as my legs. It had a hole in its body, the shape of its head, right where its stomach should be, just as if that's how it should be. So essentially there's just a diamond-shaped cutout in its body, but that's not like from a wound or anything, that's just how it is. And that's kind of what it doesn't look natural by any means. It's like black and white, and it's weird is the best way to put it in a word. So Sarah says it had a hole in its body the shape of its head, right where its stomach should be, just as if that's how it should be. And its legs, and the sheriff cuts in, twice as long as its body, with massive hooves the size of a manhole cover. Yes, deputy, you believe this? And then I realized I needed to explain this, or be a lot quicker. So basically how it moves is it has these massive clawed arms, and it uses that to like Tarzan through the trees, but when it's on the ground it jumps around like a frog, and because it has these crazy long legs. However, when it's crouched down as low as it can get, it is 6 feet tall. And then let me go into what Granny tells, the exposition drop Granny gives. It's the Mishfar. No one knows where it came from. Maybe it's a spirit who's been here thousands of years, a curse brought in from foreigners, a monster born of a new age. No one knows. But they do know it only appears in the woods near the Mist Rock, which is just a landmark. And it has never been seen standing. Foreshadowing. And then people who go near Mist Rock are trespassing on its territory and are killed or driven away. Mostly when it's a group, it's a mix between. Then I had to jot down a bunch of scenes. Then there's a scene where the sheriff has brought the kids to the station to help calm them down. The deputy says this is all insane. The sheriff shows the deputy a scar on her shoulder that looks like it was made by a claw mark, exactly as it was described earlier. And she said she was attacked as a kid when she got too close, and when her brother came to rescue her, her brother was killed. And then the next scene is the three are asking why the Mishfar kills and just leaves the bodies. And then the sheriff and the deputy are going off to recover Ronnie's body while it's still light out. Granny explains it just wants to be left alone, and no one around here is foolish enough to go that deep into the woods, so they don't have signs up or anything. Not that anyone would believe the signs. Then we go to an autopsy scene with Ronnie's body, and we see the coroner, Dr. Muster, say, yeah, it's a routine Mishfar attack. It's a normal day for him. He's older. He's seen this time and time again. So that was where I was wanting to get there's a story that happened before. That's where I was kind of wanting that theme to bleed into here, is that this is a normal thing for the people of this town. So when the deputy and these campers come in and not knowing what's going on, they're freaking out as to why is this normal for you? It's normal for them because that's where they grew up. And then Dr. Muster goes on to say, the campers were barely in its territory and it hasn't attacked someone this far away from the Mist Rock, and that it's unusual. Then there was a bunch of scenes I wanted to add, but I didn't have time, so I just jumped ahead. Basically, it's a bunch of scenes, the deputy going around asking about the Mishfar and just looking things up about it, because he's like, people think this is normal, this is crazy. And then as there's a whole scene of him doing all this research and he finds proof of it. And it's this whole investigation as to why has no one done anything about this. And then as that, we see the three campers just kind of be like, we need to get out of here. Let's call a ride to come pick us up, basically. Leave our stuff in the woods. It doesn't matter. We need to get out of here. And they're kind of like, we're out of here, basically. And then we go to the next scene I had written out. The deputy kind of rallies the people and wants to hunt the Mishfar. They call him crazy because they grew up believing this thing was invincible. And then he brings out the records of the attacks he's found, and dozens upon dozens of people have been killed, as far as the records go back. And the people are thrown into a rage about this, including a bunch of older folks who are going around ready for a monster hunt.
Gingers, go!
Yeah. I just wanted to add that as a funny thing, that it's a bunch of old folks going on a monster hunt. It's not just old folks, of course, it's everyone, but they're a part of it anyway. That all kind of sprung from the idea that Granny's only 40. Okay, so then the deputy has people going, and then someone steps into the sheriff's station and asks the three if they're going to get revenge for Ronnie. Sarah and Jules say yes, they're going to go get revenge for Ronnie. And then Alex thinks this is crazy because he saw the thing chasing them through the woods the clearest. We see that earlier. And he doesn't think people are scared enough because he's seen it. Then Alex goes to get the sheriff, and then the sheriff and Alex are locked up for trying to stop these people from what they believe is going to their death. Jumping ahead, the people finally reach Mist Rock at dusk. And we get this big tense moment where no one has seen what Mist Rock looks like in a very long time. We get to see a picture of it in the old newspapers and stuff that the deputy found in the his research scene, but this is the first time people have seen it in decades. So they see it, it's this crazy thing, there's always mist around it, no one has found out why. It's just like a hot spring or something like that. But there's this mist surrounding them as they walk in. They've got guns, they've got knives, they've got stuff that you would expect modern day people to have to kill a monster. As that happens, Granny sets Alex and the sheriff free. Then, these last two things I didn't have time to flesh out. The massacre happens. The Mishfar attacks, and pretty much everyone dies. The deputy gets caught up in... The deputy dies pretty quick in a very brutal way. because he's the bad guy of it, really. And it gets to a point where the Mishfar is surrounded by like a lot of people, and it looks like they've got it cornered. And there's a moment where like, are they gonna kill the monster? Then the Mishfar slowly stands up. And then I kind of wanted like a camera angle where it's like panning up, and it's double the height we've seen at. It's like 12 feet tall. So this thing is absolutely massive. And then it goes in and just stomps someone into a pancake. And it goes around stomping on people, and that's its like most deadly way to kill people. It just never has had to resort to that. And I just wanted that to be really like tense moments, because the guns aren't really doing much, and I want to see a lot of like shots of like the guns just going through the holes in its head and body as well. I just think that'd be funny. And then the last thing I didn't even finish typing this out, but the sheriff and Alex show up. They help Sarah and Jules escape, and a few of the townspeople escape, but the Mishfar chases them out. But once they leave the woods, they hear, or it's just dead silent. They look back and there's nothing there. The Mishfar just does not escape the woods. And then I wanted a final scene where Alex, Sarah, and Jules, the 3 campers we saw at the beginning, the ones that are still alive, they're getting picked up, and they're just like, you gotta fix your town. And the sheriff's just like, that happens. And then it'll cut to Granny and the sheriff talking about the missed rock. And Granny's like looking through like maybe she had an old journal of her grandma or something like that from someone, and it starts talking about the legend. I didn't have time to do this, but I really wanted to get it done in time. I didn't. Basically, we cut to the Mishfar at Mist Rock, and something's revealed. I thought maybe it's like a baby Mishfar or something. I think it's something that I want to hint at another movie. That's what it was. It's the reason why the Mishfar is territorial. And the first thing I thought of was a baby Mishfar, but that's not what I actually want to do. But something like that. The Mishfar is protecting something, and there's questions to be answered. And then I kind of want to do a prequel, where it's like when the Mishfar first showed up, and the origin of it. Yeah, that was all over the place, but I went off of a drawing and a paragraph from middle school, high school, and yeah. I wanted to do this better. I ran out of time.
Krais, you got anything?
Yeah. I got a few things.
You go first.
I really enjoyed this. I get you when you say you had like this very detailed like opening scene, and then you get to like Granny. It's like shit. So yeah, we were all there when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very interesting story to talk about. You don't see a lot of like newer monsters coming into play. Like it's always like, oh, it's ancient monster that lived a long time ago and it's coming back and it's killing, but no, it's just it's a newer monster. I'm always down to learn about a new monster. And I was interested in this creature, at least, and I wanted to know more. And the fact that you couldn't do more because you ran out of time hurts. And I'm in pain now, and I need to know more about this creature.
I will say I will write out more of the creature's like origin and stuff. I'm doing that no matter what, unless you guys, I don't know.
Oh no, I'm probably gonna continue my script for the Black Lagoon.
I feel like we're all gonna be working on these more, but I'm definitely at least the origin of the Mishfar. I'm going into that at least, even if I'm not continuing the story. Yeah.
But I think it was good. Again, wish you had some more time to flesh it out. Would have liked to know more about how do you say this creature's name?
Mishfar.
Mishfar. Okay. And the fact that you weren't able to go into like the connection it has with Mist Rock pains me.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts. And I wish I knew.
Do you want me to read the paragraph I have?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So, wrote this in middle school, so there's a lot of spelling errors. I hope I read it right.
Well, I'm not reading it.
Yeah. The Mishfar travels through the woods, swinging from branch to branch, or hopping along the ground like a frog. When it locates its prey, it climbs to the closest tree and drops down upon it. It stomps it to death or cuts it to ribbons with its claws. No one has seen it at full height and lived to tell about it. So that's what I went off of.
That it, Krais?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. One of the things that I think you did really well on is just the world building and the lore behind this monster. And I mean, of course, you're going to have lore behind it because you're the one that created it. And I think you do a good job at building the mystery of what this thing is. I think that you should have sprinkled in some more like Mishfar killings because I'm worried that you'll lose audiences if it's just so much like mystery, exposition, and not enough of like the monster doing stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think you did set yourself up really good to have a franchise with this, especially with your teases of the prequel. Like I could tell you that you were setting up a prequel right there. And then also there is room for more stories to tell.
Yeah. So for the franchise, I wouldn't be more than 3 movies total. There'd be this one, the prequel, and then maybe a sequel where the Mishfar is finally.
I could at least see a trilogy with this.
Yeah. That's just me as the creator not wanting to do more than that. You definitely could, but I don't.
I could definitely see someone having this idea and doing a trilogy.
Yeah. But as far as the more Mishfar killings, what I wanted to do was when the deputy is going around asking about this creature, we get cutscenes of like things that happened in the past. So we get to those killings, and then we can also cut to the Mishfar live as it's like watching these people.
How would you handle the killings in the past?
What do you mean? Like how
would
you
just randomly show a scene of someone getting killed in the past with it? Or what would you do to tie it in with the story?
What I would do is the scene where the deputy, I have him going to the library and looking at like old newspapers on a computer, like files of old newspapers, and then we see, it's cutting between a lot of moments and we see them all at the same time. So he's looking at this newspaper and we see bits of it, and we see like flashes of him asking someone about this, that maybe we saw like a bit of him asking this person earlier in the movie. But as they're describing it, he sees images of like the pictures that were taken of like the bodies and like bits of the Mishfar, but not really seeing it. And then we also cut to like, for instance, the sheriff going into the woods to like collect the camping gear that was left behind, them putting up signs around the territory, and we see like over the shoulder of the Mishfar as he's watching these things. And it's kind of building that, and I kind of want to have parallels. Like, we see an attack, and then it's set where the sheriff is, like, in the same position as the attack. And I want to see a lot of parallels where, like, we see the Mishfar could attack whoever he's looking at. I say he. It's whoever he's looking at, and it looks like he's about to, but he never does. And I kind of want to hint at, it looks like the Mishfar's looking at a certain spot on the, like, an invisible line on the ground. And we see the sheriff step towards it, and it, like, rises up a little bit, ready to pounce. And then they step away, basically saying if they're not in his territory, he's not going to do anything. But I kind of want to see flashes of like, this happened before with these people who did die and they did step over the line.
Gotcha.
So he doesn't, in the movie, the only time the Mishfar, like of the time without the flashbacks, it's just Ronnie and then the massacre at the end. But we see ones in the past of people dying. So we still get those attacks, but they aren't actually happening in the present.
Gotcha.
And it's hard to explain what I'm seeing in my head, but I think it works really well personally.
Okay.
There's a lot of like the people talking of like the interview. We hear them talking about the story, and we just see different things like the newspaper, what's happening now, what happened during the attack they're talking about.
Quick question: would you say that the deputy is the protagonist?
Protagonist, no.
Who would you say? Because you followed the deputy for quite a bit of it, and it really seemed like the deputy was the protagonist, with the campers just being side characters.
Yeah, that's just how I had it written. So the campers, and it's really the sheriff is the protagonist.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's
just just going based off of what. Yeah, I don't need you to explain this, but like, because I'm just gonna assume it's the time restraint. Yeah. But the way everything was explained, you had the deputy as the protagonist for it, and then when you killed him, it seemed very anticlimactic for the protagonist to get killed off like that.
Yeah.
And then you still had a decent amount of runtime after that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this feels weird.
No, he is basically that time where I went into explaining what he's doing. He's the one making things worse. He's because I needed to get to the point where these people are attacking this thing. I needed to get to that point, and he's what gets to that. But there's a lot of story that happens. Basically, it's the sheriff trying to...
I will say this, though, just with normal writing, the protagonist is not necessarily a hero.
Yeah.
The protagonist, in literary definition, is the person who drives the story.
Yeah.
And from what I'm getting, the protagonist would be the deputy. He's driving the story, but he's not making things better. He's just making things worse. That's what I got throughout this whole read-through.
Yeah, basically what's happening in this is the sheriff is trying to save lives by getting people away from the area. I guess technically, yes.
And the other reason why the deputy seems more like the protagonist is because he's also the POV character for the audience. Because as he's discovering more about the Mishfar, it's also helping the audience learn more about the Mishfar. So that's why a lot of movies like to make a POV character for big franchises because it helps bring people in with that. And that's what the deputy seemed. He seemed like the obvious pick for the protagonist and the POV character.
It was supposed to be him and the campers, but mostly the campers. But I didn't have time to do that because the campers were also originally going to be asking those questions and such. But I didn't have time to give them a reason to when they just wanted to leave.
Yeah.
So yes, you're right. That's where it is. That is what it is now. The deputy is the protagonist. That's not what I want it to be.
Okay.
But that is where it is.
Yep. Okay. Just getting that clarification.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's all I needed clarification on, just because it seemed like that was the protagonist and he killed him off along with at least like 20, 30 minutes of screen time still going.
Yeah. He is not supposed to be, but he is. Mm-hmm. And that's just something I needed to work on because in my head he's not. But when you look at what I have...
So, like, just a normal, like, hey, this is why I get a second person to look it over, just in case it...
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, that guy's clearly the protagonist.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. He's... Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Krais, anything else?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Like, I wasn't really thinking... I was more curious about the monster as a whole, but I agree with you in terms of, like, it's a story mode. But personally... I was more enthralled with the monster itself because that's just who I am.
Oh yeah, your monster design is really cool.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting.
So.
Yeah, the point of the movie is to try and figure out if the Mishfar is good or bad. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we're getting at. And then the idea is the deputy's like, no, you're bad. You kill people, you're bad. Just period. But it's supposed to be arguing that he only kills if you go into his territory. And he just kills you and then he tries to get people away. He's protecting something is supposed to be what it is, and then the deputy's like, no, you're killing people. You're dying.
And I feel like you could also use it for a metaphor as a series as the whole about just like colonization or just like, industrialization even. Yeah. And like you could do that with the sequel or even just the prequel even, but I feel like you got plenty of opportunities to do that as a metaphor and just another good narrative to it.
I'm going to tell you what I wrote down because I didn't say this because I didn't have time to flesh it out because I wanted to do that. And here's how I can prove it. It's written down. It says, Granny tells the legend of the Mishfar, unknown origin, maybe a spirit who's been here thousands of years, a curse brought by the English, a monster born from the age of industry. I had that all written down.
You didn't say that.
I didn't say it, no.
No, you said part of it.
I said a spirit who's been around thousands of years, a curse brought in from I think I said something like foreigners or a monster brought by the new age.
You had a good portion of that in there. Yeah,
I'm just glad you got exactly what I was going for with me trying to be vague.
Man, it's like I'm gonna be a good director someday or something.
Yeah, almost like that. Yeah, it's almost like that's your major.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall not bad. Time restraint really killed all of us.
Yeah.
But Jinx. I am very interested in seeing what we all do with these scripts overall. I think the one I'm most impressed with is actually Krais's.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I found it more episodic, but I felt like it was detailed enough that I feel like you should be impressed, at least coming from me, my point of view, is that you managed to write at least 5 episodes of a miniseries.
In 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
We couldn't get a movie done in 30.
You struggled for it. And instead of coming up with one movie, you came up with the series. So I think you should be impressed with that. Yeah. At least I see it as a series. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Just, it's a compliment, I promise.
Yeah.
As much as I grilled you about it not necessarily being a movie in my eyes.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is you described these scenes very briefly, but I saw a whole 20-minute scene just from like your 1 minute of talking. So
It was all in my head. What I had written down is what I could, like, that was just speed of my hand moving. So
yeah, that's...
Yeah, I think everyone kind of had like something very unique that they brought with it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Krais had like burst of energy with a great idea and ran with it, and managed to make a miniseries.
Yeah.
Jack making an original monster, and then me revisiting and reviving a classic Hollywood monster.
I feel like you're reviving, me making something original, Krais taking something very unique and going with it and doing well. It's been like us when we make things in general. I feel like that's a running theme with us.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I
do some original stuff, but
you
like,
definitely do.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is the
if
most
anyone's
weird.
gonna come up with like more of a how do I make a good revival of something,
Yeah,
it's me.
I feel like that's just the pattern we're seeing. Like, look at the sports one. You took a sport and you made it extreme. You just took a bunch of crazy things and put them together. I definitely took a sport and made it extreme, but I also added a bunch to it. I feel like it made it more original.
you made it like.
I wouldn't say that's a good example one because
That's
that's
a good
one
point.
Yeah,
really
that's a
does
good- yeah.
revive on all of our own creativity of
Yeah.
something.
But I
And
see
none-
where you're going.
Yeah.
with it.
In fact, if anyone did more of a revival one, it would be Krais because his was heavily inspired by Wii Sports Resort.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point,
So like it just breaks that pattern.
yeah, I
But
just
I think
you
that
get
there's.
you get what I'm trying to
I see
say.
where you're coming from, and
Yeah.
I definitely see it. I just think it's hard to come up with specific examples. Of
Yeah, you're just That's just kind of the vibe I get from us is
Yeah.
in our creativity.
Yeah.
All right, shall we see what our next prompt will be?
God no.
I was happy last time we spun, but
Yeah.
now I'm nervous.
All right,
This was so much. All right, yep, spin it.
here we go. Your Batman trilogy.
Fuck!
Knew it was coming soon. I knew it.
Oh, I'm not ready with this one.
I have to do so much research.
Oh shit!
To do what I want to do with this, I need to do a lot of it.
Oh, there's so much I want to do.
Yeah, that's what I have to worry about. Like, I know specific characters I know I absolutely need to do, but I also need to figure out a way to make it a good, cohesive story for the trilogy.
Yeah. I'm not going to choose a storyline from the comics.
Yeah.
I'm going to take characters that have no business knowing each other and they're going to be a team.
Yeah.
I love the idea that Jack's like, okay, so I had no idea what I was doing. So my first villain is going to be Calendar Man.
Honestly, that's something I would do.
Honestly,
Like,
I feel like Jack could probably do something good with Calendar Man.
Yeah.
I need to look into... I don't know who you're talking about. You know what? He's going to be my main villain.
He's the guy who organizes crimes that happen on specific holidays.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Thank you all for listening to this spooky episode. But yeah, we're just hyped. And also, Batman's pretty fitting for the spooky season.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Any last thoughts?
Monsters are scary.
Yes.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to bring up. I'm glad we all went with like a more horror thing. I think I might have
yes.
brushed on it, but I really want to drive it more. I really like we all did that.
Yeah.
As opposed to what I made
It would have been
say.
interesting and unique if someone did that just because we all did the
Yeah.
spookier one. But
Yeah.
honestly, we're all more comedic and bubbly anyway, so I think doing something a little spooky is pretty good.
I liked
Listen,
it.
I'm dark and brooding all the way.
Yep.
Okay, Batman.
He's getting into character. Anyway, all right. Thank you all for listening. That's an
And
elephant?
No, that's your monster.
That is my mom's
that,
just a
that
baby
is,
voice.
no. And that was the three not so wise men. Krais Baker, Jack Green, Austin Shalis. And a huge shout out to Louis Trotter for making our intro music. So happy trails and ta-ta for now.